The one character that stands out the most in the Kingkiller Chronicle is Kvothe. You may have heard of him. He's the one telling the story of his life, so of course he's the character that gets the most amount of depth. Now, I usually prefer fantasy books with multiple point of views and tons of characters that all have their own arc, but there's just something about the way that we hear Kvothe's tale that grips me every single time I reread it. Maybe it's the cozy, nostalgic start to his tale, as he remembers fond memories of his parents before tragedy strikes, and we follow young Kvothe go through hardship after hardship. Maybe it's the way he describes his love for music, or a drink shared with friends at the Aeolian. Or maybe it's the intriguing mystery of the tragedy that befalls this man who's spoken of in legend, and who now is telling his tale in the Waystone Inn, a man devoid of the power that he once had, and who's now shrouded in a cut-flower silence, waiting to die. He's also a frustrating character. His arrogance is one of his main weaknesses, and he's constantly messing things up and causing his own problems. But despite all of his dumb decisions, there's still something lovable about him. But this video is not about Kvothe. There's many other side characters in these books that deserve some appreciation, so here are my top 5 characters in the Kingkiller Chronicle. I was going to put Denna at number 5, but then I remembered that I don't really care for Denna. I'm actually not one of the many fans that hate her. I think that when the 3rd book drops, we're in for a big eye-opener as to what's going on in the background with Denna. In many aspects, she's quite similar to Kvothe. She roams from place to place, which reflects much of Kvothe's childhood. She's good with words and can easily charm people, and she has a strong liking for music. She also has a strange interest in genealogies, as well as Yillish knots. I think it's evident that she has some hidden goal. Maybe she's even looking for revenge like Kvothe. And of course there's her mysterious patron, Master Ash, who is probably either a member of the Aemir or the Chandrian. Or Kvothe is being led by the Kvothe to believe that he's a Chandrian, which I'm sure is going to have disastrous results. Kvothe is a master at messing everything up. Anyway, I think there's a lot more to her than we think, which would explain some of her actions, but right now the frustrating, unresolved mystery around her is just that, frustrating. So Denna doesn't make the list. Instead, at number 5, we have Bast. Dark and charming, with delicate yet sharp features and cunning blue eyes, Bast is soon revealed to be a fey creature under a glamoury. His real appearance has cloven hooves and the whites of his eyes are fully blue. Bast is a student, apprentice, and assistant to Kvothe at the Waystone Inn, and why he's there and what he's learning from his dear Reshi is kind of a complete mystery. This is another character that likely has a hidden agenda. He's often described as graceful and charming, but then he displays a much darker side of himself in scenes with the Chronicler, and in his final scene of the Wise Man's Fear. Kinda reminds me of the darker side to Kvothe that we've seen make appearances throughout the books. Such times as when he lit Pike on fire, or slaughtered the fake Ademaru troop. Almost as if Kvothe is also part Fey. As if his color-changing eyes and natural talents weren't a dead giveaway. Now Bast alludes to having an overarching plan to restore Kvothe's power by making him remember who he once was, but I still really do not trust Bast. But hey, I do like him as a character. We first meet Fella as one of the scrivs working for the entrance desk to the archives. She develops more of a friendship with Kvothe after he saves her from the fire in the fishery, and she also gives him a dark green cloak with lots of little pockets. She's helped Kvothe after he was banned from the archives, and even traded places with him at admissions when he was poisoned with a plumb bob. Fella is one of the few students invited to study naming with Master Eledon, and she's the most successful, having learned the true name of Stone, which then gets her promoted to the rank of Relar, with Eledon as her sponsor, and to prove her ability, she wears a ring that she forms from a river stone. Now with the weird dream she has about what's behind the 4-plate door, and the fact that she knows the name of Stone, and the 3rd book is called The Doors of Stone, I'm hoping that she's going to advance from background character and have more of a role to play in the finale of the Kingkiller Chronicle. Next is Will and Sim. I'm gonna group them together, but really Sim is the one that I like the most. I love the scene when Kvothe wins his talent pipes and Sim gets so overcome with emotion for his friend that he begins to cry as he goes to congratulate him. Sim is best friend material, and Will, being the voice of reason in the group, deserves some appreciation as well. Though it is sad that during the frame story in the Waystone Inn, Kvothe kind of speaks of Sim and Will almost as if they've died. And there is a theory out there that because Sim is in line for the throne, even though he's way down on the line, that he might be the king that Kvothe kills, as well as the angel that he kills. Honestly, if he kills Sim, even by accident, I'm not going to forgive him. Eledon, or Eledon, however you like to say it.
Eledon, I say the Eledon all the time.
Eledon is the eccentric master namer. He was the youngest to ever be admitted to the university at the age of 14. By the time he turned 18, he became a full arcanist and began working as a giller, later on becoming Master Namer, and briefly the Chancellor of the university. He was also mysteriously locked away in Haven at one point before making a dramatic escape that mirrors that of Taborlin the Great. Eledon is terrible at being punctual, and he's also pretty unreliable, but he does demonstrate an understanding towards naming that I'm sure very few, if any, in all of Temerant could equal. His naming lectures are incredibly unorthodox and sometimes even seemingly pointless, but somehow they seem to work at awakening the sleeping mind. Take Fella's success, for example. Oh, also, if you missed it, Rothfuss totally revealed that Eledon is part Fae, so hey, that's cool. My number 1 pick, of course, goes to Ari. While Kvothe is practicing his lute, he suspects he's being spied on, and his little moon-fae spy turns out to be Ari, a strange girl with blonde hair that floats around her head like a halo, who lives below the university in the ruins that she calls the Underthing. Ari is a beautifully flawed character. She seems to be living with severe obsessive-compulsive disorder, which is most likely caused from her cracking under the pressure of learning naming at the university. She's a deeply broken person, but she finds joy in her brokenness. If you like Ari but haven't read The Slow Regard of Silent Things yet, then I'd highly recommend that you do. It's really not a story for everyone, not a whole lot happens in it, but it does give us a deeper look into Ari's mind and her day-to-day life in the Underthing. And if you read closely, there's even a passage that reveals what Ari is and what she's capable of. Now, Ari views the world at a different angle than most people. It speaks to her, and she understands it on an entirely different level. The way she takes things that don't belong and moves them into their proper place may seem odd, but I think it's that she understands the way things ought to be as it relates to their nature, which I think in this world could actually make her a very powerful character. When we finally get the Doors of Stone, whenever that may be, I just hope there's going to be a lot more Ari in it. She's such an amazing and odd character. Now for some honorable mentions. I thought of putting Devi on this list, but I don't want to support loan sharks. Tempe is another character I almost put on here. I love his quiet awkwardness. Also, I think that Kvothe is worth mentioning for being a terrifying, manipulative being, whatever it is that's bound to that tree. And I'm not just giving it a shout out because my future is in its hands. And finally, Kilvin. You gotta love the gentle giant craftsman character. I like how he has a soft spot for Kvothe, and he's easily one of my favorite university masters. So those are my top 5 characters in the Kingkiller Chronicle, plus some honorable mentions. Let me know who you would put in your top 5, and let me know what other Kingkiller Chronicle videos you want to see me make next. Now, I just wanted to take a moment to mention the fundraiser that's been going on for my mom. For the last 2 years now, she's been unable to work due to neurological damage in her nervous system and brain, as well as a bulged disc that's pinching her spinal cord in the same area where she has stenosis and arthritis. And it's been a while since I updated you guys on this, but she has improved a lot, but she's still unable to drive herself, and she still struggles with a lot of pain in her neck every day. So if you are able to help out even a little bit, you don't know how much that means to me. All of the proceeds from the fundraiser go towards helping her and getting her treatment. I will have a link down in the description to where you can find the fundraiser.